If you ever thought your menstrual cycle is just your period or a total inconvenience to your life, this episode is going to change how you see your body. Today, we're breaking down what your hormones are actually doing throughout the month, why your cycle is considered a vital sign of health, and what postpartum moms especially need to know and understand about energy, recovery, and ovulation. If your cycle feels off, your energy feels unpredictable, or you've really never been taught how this actually works, this one's for you. Feeling exhausted, overwhelmed, or like you've lost yourself in the postpartum chaos? Whether you're 4 weeks postpartum, 2 years in, or done having babies, you deserve to feel like yourself again. Hey mama, I'm Val, a functional sports dietitian, postpartum fitness coach, and a mama who understands exactly what you're going through. Welcome to the Strong and Nourished Momma Podcast, where you'll find simple, science-backed strategies to heal your core, rebuild strength, and restore your energy without the overwhelm. If you're ready to go from depleted to strong, nourished, and unstoppable, you're in the right place. Let's dive in. Hey mama, I just want you to know I see you. I know exactly what it's like to wonder if you will ever feel like yourself again after having your baby, whether it's your first or your third. To want to take care of your health, but feel like there's never enough time or energy left at the end of the busy day. That's why I created the Strong, Nourished, and Energized Mom Method program. It's an 8-week group coaching program that gives you the tools, support, and guidance to rebuild your strength, restore your energy, and feel confident in your body again without burnout and without guilt. You don't have to do this alone, mama. Enrollment is now open, and I would love to support you throughout your motherhood journey. Head to wellnessbyval.com/program or check the show notes for more details. Today, we are talking about something that almost every woman experiences, but very few women are actually taught: your menstrual cycle. And your menstrual cycle is absolutely amazing. And I hope by the end of this episode, you will agree with me. So it's not just your period, your full cycle, your hormones, your energy rhythms, and what this means for your health, your recovery, and your postpartum body. Here's the truth, mama. Most women only learn when to expect bleeding, your period, not what's actually happening behind the scenes, and why we have our period and what the menstrual cycle actually is, why symptoms show up, and what's normal versus what's a red flag or something that's common but not considered normal. I want to share a personal example that really brought this home for me. Last April, at the end of last April 2025, I had my IUD removed. And from May to September, a few things changed. I wanted to give myself some time after I had the copper IUD. So with the copper IUD, you don't have any hormones, but and you're still ovulating. But of course, the copper is going to activate an immune response with the immune system, and it's going to make sure that you're not getting pregnant. Okay. So I get that out. I want to make sure that everything's kind of regulated and normal before I'm ready to start actually trying to have another baby. From May through September, these are the things that changed. I was covering an extra group fitness class. So I was teaching cycle, and cycle is pretty intense. Cycle, especially when you teach it, cycle on the bike, it can be very intense. So in addition to cycle, I was also teaching a strength class, and they were actually back to back. And at first thinking about this, I'm like, oh yeah, this is no big deal. I could totally do this. But when you're teaching group fitness, you have lots of energy and you're motivating others. You're also trying to motivate yourself depending on what's going on. And with cycle being intense and lifting, I was thinking, okay, it's only an hour. I'm lifting before I do cycle. Like I can totally do this. And so that was from like May to through September. From May through July, I was training more. And this is just me thinking and reflecting on it. I was training more. I was running before I would do a lift session. I was running more than I usually was and consistently lifting on top of that. And my overall movement and workload increased. So what I was asking of my body increased. And I wasn't training for anything specific. I was just, hey, this is what I want to do and this is what I like. And it was summer and I was going outside and doing all kinds of different activity on top of teaching group fitness. And something super interesting happened with my cycle. My period shortened to about 3 days. So normal period is 3 to 7 days. My normal is about 7 days on the IUD, off the IUD. That is my normal. And yes, that's a full week. And some of you may be thinking, oh my gosh, that's like way too long. But that was my normal. That's what I was used to. So when it went from 7 days to 3 days, I was thinking, whoa, okay, that's weird. What's going on? Oh, okay, I just got the IUD out. Maybe my body's just regulating. Things are kind of going back to normal. But then it kept happening month after month. Maybe one was 4 days and then it was back to 3 days. Now, on the surface, a shorter period doesn't always seem like a problem. So a doctor may say, oh, it's 3 to 7 days. You're within normal, whatever. But a lot of women would brush that off. A lot of doctors would brush that off. A lot of people would brush it off. But when you understand how the cycle works, it can actually be a sign that your body is under more stress or it's not getting enough energy to fully support hormone production. So that's a red flag. From going from 7 days to 3 days, that's a red flag. And it made me pause and reflect. How much am I asking my body to do? What am I asking of my body? Was I truly fueling enough for the activities and the stress load I had taken on? So in addition to exercising more, moving my body more, I'm working. I work a full-time job in corporate wellness. I'm doing the podcast. I have my private practice. I have a toddler. I have all of these things going on in my life. So I was thinking, am I truly fueling enough for the activity and the stress load that I've been taken on? And yes, exercise is going to be considered additional stress. Was I supporting recovery the way I teach my clients to? What's going on? And sometimes when you're exercising a lot, especially with the heat, the hunger signal kind of goes down. You don't feel as hungry or your appetite goes down. And so I wasn't being signaled to do that, or my routine was just a little bit different. And so this experience really reminded me how closely connected training volume, stress, fueling, hormones really are. And that's what I really wanted to share with you today. So this isn't just something elite athletes experience. This happens to every single mom all the time, right? It happens to busy moms. And this is something I commonly heard growing up. I ran cross country and a lot of the girls would say, "Oh, I don't have my period anymore because I'm training so much." And it was kind of like this badge of honor, like, "Oh, I don't have my period anymore because I'm training so much and I'm so fit." That never really made sense to me. Looking back, thinking about it now, of course it does, now that I understand the science and the cycle and everything with it. Back then in high school, I'm like, that doesn't make any sense. Like, why? And does that mean because I still have my period, I'm not fit enough? I'm not fast enough or strong enough? That it just didn't make any sense to me, right? And so with this time in my life going, from May to September, I'm covering more classes. In July, it's kind of when I recognized it and kind of clicked like, hey, I don't think I'm eating enough. So in August, I started eating more. I started fueling more. I started to make it a priority, which can be really hard to do when you're go, busy. And again, the heat in the summer. And then come October, I stopped teaching those back-to-back classes. I stopped teaching cycle and actually transitioned to a strength class instead. And it really kind of like dialed back on my overall movement and kind of chilled out that way because I wanted to make sure that I could start to figure out what was going on. Because at that point, I was ready. I'm ready to have another baby. I would like to start trying to have another baby. So my period went from 3 days, sometimes 4, but mostly 3 during those summer months. I started fueling more. I backed off on the intensity and the amount of exercise that I was doing. And my cycle then went up to 5 days. And that's when I started actually using Mira, something that I use with my clients too, to be able to see what my hormones are doing, which we're going to talk about hormones today. So estrogen, progesterone, LH, and then FSH as well. So this really led me to one of the biggest misconceptions I see with clients and with just women in general. When I ask moms, how long is your cycle? So if they're coming to me for a specific reason and we're in our consult and we're talking, I ask them, okay, how long is your cycle? Whether they bring it up or not, because sometimes these are things that I'm thinking about when I'm meeting with my clients. If they're complaining of certain things, and they're giving me the list of things that are going on, I may be thinking, okay, well, let's think about what's going on with their hormones. So these are things I can start asking and getting information about. So how long is your cycle? And so many women will answer 5 days, 6 days, 4 days. And what they're really telling me is how long they're bleeding for, how long their period is. So that's not the entire cycle. That's not the entire menstrual cycle. That is your period. Just one small part of the entire hormonal rhythm that is happening in your body. And this hormonal rhythm is absolutely beautiful and it's fascinating. And I'm so excited to talk about it today. So your menstrual cycle includes hormone signaling, egg maturation. So your egg is actually maturing and it takes about 90 days for the egg follicle to fully mature. Ovulation, whether you want to get pregnant or not, you're going to hear me say that a lot today. Progesterone production, energy shifts, metabolic changes, and this is going to impact so many different areas of our life. So the bleeding phase is the only visible phase that you can truly see. Now, the other phases you may be able to feel or experience, or you may be having different signs and symptoms that you may be connecting to the menstrual cycle, or maybe we're not connecting them and they're totally related. Again, we're one being, everything is connected. So today we're going to zoom out and look at the full picture. What hormones are involved? What are they actually doing inside of our body? And why understanding this matters so much for postpartum recovery, strength, energy, long-term health. Whether you just had your baby a year ago and you're just getting your period back, or whether it's been 10, 20 years since you've had your baby, this is still an important information to understand. Before we go into the hormones themselves and talk about what these amazing hormones do, I want to zoom out for a second. This isn't just my opinion as a dietitian and as a coach. The American College of Obstetricians and Gynecologists, ACOG, together with the American Academy of Pediatrics, they have officially recommended that the menstrual cycle be used as a vital sign in clinical assessments. Hello, thank you. This should have been forever, right? Like this should have been going on for as long as we've been alive, especially for girls and for adolescents, because that's a time where things are still very different. It's going up and down. Things are changing. A lot of the times the cycles are longer when you start your menstrual cycle in your teens. And it's something really important to understand because it is a vital sign. It's looking at our bodily functions and our overall health. And a lot of young girls are starting their period younger and younger, or even much later than the typical like 13, 14 age. And that's actually detrimental, not only in that time frame, but even as we go on with our lives. So this means that clinicians, because that it is now considered a vital sign in clinical assessments, clinicians are encouraged to ask about cycle patterns, bleeding length, regularity as part of overall health evaluations. We have to look at the full picture. Just like with blood pressure, just like with your heart rate, this is going to help identify abnormalities early and provide insight into overall health status. This is huge. This is big. So if your blood pressure is high, that's a red flag. Why is it high? What's going on? Do we need medication, or are there some other things that we can do to manage blood pressure? What's going on with heart rate? Is it too low? Is it too high? That's very important when it comes to those vital signs. What's interesting is that while this recommendation started in adolescence, because early menstrual patterns can predict later health, which is really important, emerging research actually argues that the menstrual cycle functions as a vital sign across the lifespan. So it's not just when we get our period when we're adolescents. It's across the entire lifespan, from menarche, so when you first get your period, through menopause. This is important. This means the cycle characteristics like regularity, the hormone rhythms, and energy shifts can be powerful indicators of health and potential issues well beyond productive years. Okay. And this is something that we want our clinicians to be aware of, that we want our coaches to be aware of, and something that I always talk to my clients about, because this is going to give us information as to what is going on. So when we talk about irregular cycles, short luteal phases, or missing ovulation, these aren't just inconveniences. These are signals. Your body is communicating about energy availability, stress, hormone balance, and overall well-being. Let's take it as a knock on the door that your body is saying something's going on. Something's going on, something isn't right, and that's where we're getting these different signs and these different symptoms, these different signals that our body's trying to tell us. So let's talk about why your menstrual cycle is considered a vital sign. So just like heart rate, like I said, heart rate, respiratory rate, blood pressure, temperature, they all give you information about your health. and so does your menstrual cycle. So when my Whoop showed that my respiratory rate, when I was sick a few weeks ago, my respiratory rate was 16.9 and my resting heart rate was like close to 80. It was probably like, what the hell is going, girl, are you okay? Do you need to go to the hospital? It knew something was up. I was red. Okay. Like, hey, you're probably sick. Maybe you had some too much to drink. If you're drinking alcohol, that typically happens as well. Or something else is going on that you're going to want to pay attention to. So what's cool is we can start to track our vital signs with various wearables. So I wear my Garmin, I wear my Whoop, I get most of my data from my Whoop. So it's not just you having to put on the pulse ox or other, checking your blood pressure. Of course, that's going to be really important and you're still going to have to do that. But what's cool is the wearables are going to give you some of this data. And now with the wearables, you can actually track your menstrual cycle, the entire cycle, not just when you're bleeding, and that's included in the wearables as well. So that's super cool because your menstrual cycle is going to reflect what's happening with hormone balance. And yes, sex hormones are obviously impacted, but because of sex hormones are impacted, every other hormone's also going to be impacted. Energy availability. So energy availability, we've talked a little bit about this on the show before. This is very common when you are looking at the athletic population, whether it's like me, right? What happened last summer, or with very elite athletes. If there's not enough energy availability, your body is going to start to figure out how to preserve energy as best as it can. And shutting off the menstrual cycle or even having changes in that area, that's going to save energy, right? If I don't have enough energy to get my blood flowing and to detoxify and to do all the daily things that my body needs to do, I don't have enough energy to get pregnant. So let's shut that off. Shut off ovulation and shut off the cycle. Stress load, physical and mental, emotional stress that all matters here. Recovery capacity, how well are we recovering? Nutrient sufficiency, do we have enough nutrition on board? Do we have enough energy on board? That goes with the energy availability. Think of energy as your calories. When cycles become irregular, they become very short, they become very long, ovulation disappears. That is your body's way of communicating that something is off. Something is off, something's wrong, something's going on. We need to pay attention to it, especially after having a baby. This matters because things are different after you have a baby. Your body has gone through pregnancy, birth, massive hormonal shifts. The hormone drop after having your baby is one of the biggest hormone shifts and drops that you will ever experience. Way more compared to menopause because you're really going down in your estrogen and your progesterone. Sleep disruption and breastfeeding. If you're breastfeeding, that is a lot to recover from. That is a lot for your body to navigate and to manage it. Your body can do it, definitely, as long as it has the support and the tools that we're giving it. Your cycle can tell you how that recovery is actually going. Now, after you have a baby, everyone's going to be a little bit different. A lot of women say, especially if they're breastfeeding, I don't get my period typically until I'm done breastfeeding or after it's been a year. For me, it was 3 months I got my period after having my baby girl, and I breastfed for 15 months. And so I was kind of shocked at that. I was like, all right, here we go. Back at it. And so your cycle is really going to tell you how that recovery is actually going. Your cycle doesn't just happen either. It's this beautiful, beautiful rhythm. It actually means something. It's often called the infradian rhythm or the lunar cycle. So we have our circadian rhythm that's based on a pretty much 24-hour clock. Men, that's all they have. Women, females, us, we are going to also have the circadian rhythm as well as the infradian rhythm, the lunar cycle. And so this goes off of our menstrual cycle and off of our sex hormones. And so this rhythm of hormones is going to inform our energy, recovery, training response, metabolic health, long-term well-being, not just now in your 20s and 30s, but as you get closer to perimenopause, as you get closer to menopause, and then of course after that. All of this matters. And because it's tied to so many systems in the body, paying attention to it, even just in like a broad sense, doesn't mean you have to like dive in deeper and kind of obsess about it. I don't want you to obsess about it, but I want you to understand it and really just pay attention to it. It can really help you make smarter choices around fueling, movement, stress, and recovery. not only for right now in this moment where you're at, but again, let's think 20, 30, 40 years from now. Because what's going on now, not only with your lifestyle, but also with your hormones and your menstrual cycle, that's going to impact your metabolic health. That's going to impact your bones, your muscle when you get into perimenopause and then of course postmenopause. That matters. So again, we're not just thinking right now, we're also thinking long term. Now let's break down the main hormones involved. So this is going to be fun, and I promise to keep it as simple and as practical as I can. So I want you to think of these hormones as a team working together. So they're not just isolated players, okay? We're one body, we're one being, everything is holistic and everything is working together. So the hormones is one team working with various other teams throughout the body. So let's first start with FSH that you may have heard of. FSH is follicle stimulating hormone and is doing just that. It is responsible for stimulating your ovaries to mature the follicle, which contains the egg. And that takes about 3 months. So typically when we're seeing something going on, when we start to integrate these different changes and protocols to support that, we want to give it at least 3 months to be able to see any changes, because that is going to take 3 months to actually fully mature. It's most active, your FSH hormone, the follicle stimulating hormone, is most active early in your cycle. And it signals your body, let's prepare for ovulation. Yes, whether you want to get pregnant or not, ovulation is important. Ovulation is the whole purpose of this beautiful, beautiful cycle. If your body doesn't have enough energy or it's under chronic stress, this signal can be suppressed. Okay, so if the brain perceives a threat, then it's not going to release FSH to tell the ovaries, let's actually start stimulating and maturing these follicles. Okay, which means ovulation may not happen consistently. There's a lot that goes into it. Now, as we get into perimenopause and close to menopause, FSH is going to be pretty high. You're going to see it start to get higher and higher, or it's going to go up and down because the brain is trying to constantly tell the ovaries, come on, you can do this, let's do it, right? So it's getting higher and higher. That signal has to be louder. So now we're not talking perimenopause, we're not talking postmenopause, we're talking pre-menopause, okay? Pre-menopause, that's where I'm at right now. I'm 33 years old. I'm pre-menopausal. Perimenopause is about the 7 to 10 years where the hormones start to go up and down, leading up to menopause, which is 1 day after 12 months, and then you postmenopause, okay? So we're not talking peri, we're talking pre. So FSH, follicle stimulating hormone, is doing just that. It's stimulating your ovaries to mature those follicles which contain the egg so that when ovulation comes, it can release, ovulate, and we can get that egg. Estrogen, beautiful estrogen, your queen. Estrogen rises during the follicular phase. It peaks around ovulation. It's going to drop a little bit, and then it's going to go back up again in the luteal phase. Estrogen has to get to a certain amount to be able to stimulate that LH surge, which we'll talk about, okay? So estrogen does a lot more than just affecting reproduction. Estrogen isn't bad either. And that's something that we may hear in the media and in the press, that, oh my gosh, estrogen, too much estrogen, it's going to cause X, Y, and Z. Now, we want a beautiful balance of everything, right? Too much, too little, it's not good. But it doesn't mean that estrogen is bad. Estrogen supports bone density, which is very important, especially as we get older, muscle repair and training adaptation, brain function and mood, blood flow and circulation, uterine lining preparation. Like, let's prep this uterus to get pregnant, right? That's what your body is thinking every single cycle, every single month, whether you want to get pregnant or not. We have to accept that. There are estrogen receptors all throughout the body. So that's why estrogen is going to impact different areas. So for example, if you are in perimenopause and it's going up and down, or maybe you have PCOS, or maybe you're premenopausal, but there's other things going on with your estrogen, you're going to start to feel it in different areas of the body. Okay, so that's something to pay attention to. So this is why many women feel more energized, confident, and strong earlier in the cycle, because estrogen is rising. She's getting nice and high. It's awesome. It's beautiful. And it's amazing for the body. Estrogen actually helps muscles respond better to training. We want that. So when we talk about strength and bone health for women, estrogen is a major role. Of course, there's a lot of other things that go into it, but estrogen is playing an important role. So we have estrogen, it's going to rise in the follicular phase. So when we talk about the cycle, we have two main phases, the follicular phase and the luteal phase. You can even separate it into 4 phases: your period, your follicular phase, ovulation, and your luteal phase. Okay. Your follicular phase is considered the low hormone phase. Estrogen is going to slowly rise. Then we want estrogen to kind of peak. That's what's going to stimulate an LH surge, and then it's going to drop, and then it's going to kind of go up again in the luteal phase. So let's talk LH, which a lot of moms may be familiar with, whether you've had a baby or not, or you're trying to have a baby, you're trying to have another baby. The LH surge is something that you're paying attention to. Luteinizing hormone. So that's coming from the brain, just like FSH. Luteinizing hormone, or LH, is the hormone that's going to trigger ovulation. It gives the green light for the egg to be released. Yes, we are good to go. We have enough estrogen. Let's send out LH. Let's get that surge. And this matters because ovulation isn't just about fertility. Again, it's not just about fertility. Is it very important for fertility? Obviously, yes. We cannot get pregnant if we do not ovulate, but there are so many other things that cannot happen if we do not ovulate. And so that's very important to understand. It's what allows progesterone to be produced. Okay, so without ovulation, there's no progesterone. And if any, there's going to be very, very little, right? We don't get that beautiful progesterone in the luteal phase. So we have high estrogen, it's peaking, which stimulating an LH surge. LH surges, it goes high, and then it goes low. An egg is released, and then we're entering into the luteal phase, known as the high hormone phase. So then estrogen is going to slowly increase again, and then progesterone is going to be produced. So progesterone is only produced if ovulation happens. After ovulation, the empty follicle becomes what's called the corpus luteum, which is so cool. The corpus luteum is a structure that's going to produce progesterone. Without ovulation, we do not get the corpus luteum. We do not get any progesterone. Whether you want to get pregnant or not, we want to ovulate. We want progesterone. Progesterone is our calming hormone. Progesterone is just absolutely amazing. It's going to support a healthy uterine environment. It's going to be calming for the nervous system. Yes, we need that. Body temperature regulation. It's actually going to increase your body temperature. So in the luteal phase, you may be more hot. Hormonal balance with estrogen. Okay, it's going to be a lot higher. And they're going to be in different amounts depending on what you're testing with, which I always talk about with my clients. There's different ways to test your hormones. Low progesterone is extremely common in postpartum and with chronic stress and with underfueling. Because if we're not ovulating, if our body's getting a signal, a red flag, don't ovulate, or we're not ovulating robustly, we may not getting as much progesterone as we could have been. Low progesterone is often going to show up as a short luteal phase. You typically want your luteal phase around 12 days. PMS symptoms, so those premenstrual syndrome symptoms that you're going to experience, lots of cramping. A little bit of cramping is normal, right? Because the uterine contraction to be able to shed the uterine lining. But when it's like debilitating and you can't stand up straight and it's just super painful, that's not good either. Sleep disturbances, because progesterone is calming. It's going to help us sleep. It's absolutely amazing. So if we're not getting enough or any at all, we're going to have sleep disruptions. We're going to have anxiety. We're going to have irregular cycles. So ovulation isn't just about getting pregnant. I am going to die on that hill. I'm going to just scream it from the rooftops. It's about a whole body hormonal health. I also want to make sure that we talk about testosterone because yes, women, we have it too. And that's a good thing. We need testosterone. It's just going to be in smaller amounts compared to men. So testosterone is going to support muscle strength and adaptation, training performance, confidence, libido. So we don't want too much. We don't want too low. Well, again, we want this beautiful balance. It's kind of going to stay steady throughout the whole menstrual cycle. So this is part of why strength training is so beneficial for women, and it works synergistically with estrogen and progesterone. We talked about the hormones, the amazing hormones that are involved. Let's zoom out and look at the rhythm of the cycle. So again, we have that follicular phase. This is the first half of the cycle. Estrogen is rising, energy often improves, motivation may increase. Your body's preparing an egg for ovulation. Yes, this is awesome. Many women are going to feel mentally sharper and physically stronger here. That's your follicular phase. Then you're going into ovulation. Now, before we go into ovulation, your follicular phase is going to include the bleeding phase, okay? And if you see that, if you're tracking on an app or you're getting blood work done, or typically urine, Mira, Dutch, however you're doing it with your provider, you'll be able to see that. Ovulation is actually metabolically demanding. There's a lot that goes into it. There's a lot of energy that we need. And so you actually may be a little bit hungry around ovulation. Your body is doing some real work here, mama. Energy needs increase. Calorie needs increase. Hunger often increases because of that. That's a signal for you to eat more. Performance potential may be higher. Okay, it may be a time for you to be able to push yourself. But again, it's like this beautiful balance depending on what else is going on in your life. And that increased appetite is not a lack of willpower. It's not a lack of willpower. It's your body saying this process costs energy, and girlfriend, you need to give me some energy. Let's eat some food. Let's make sure we're eating enough, especially if you're exercising. Okay, so you ovulate, then you go into the luteal phase, your high hormone phase. After ovulation, progesterone becomes dominant. Beautiful calming progesterone. Your body temperature rises. Calorie needs are going to increase again here in this luteal phase. Carbohydrate needs increase. Sleep quality can shift depending on what's going on. This is where many women will experience cravings or lower energy. And again, this is physiological. It doesn't mean that there's a character flaw, that you don't have any willpower, that you suck. A lot of times when my clients are talking to me and they're like, Val, I don't know what's going on. I'm gaining weight all of a sudden, and I'm so hungry. First thing I ask them, when is your period? Where are you in your cycle? Oh, my period's going to be in like 3 days. Oh, girl, you're in your high hormone phase. That's normal. Fluid shifts, and so you're going to actually hold on to more fluid, and weight's going to go up a little bit. This is all normal. Now, what is the connection with energy availability? So this is one of the important points for moms. Hormones require energy to function properly. For us to be able to build and create the hormone, we need nutrients. All of your sex hormones are going to come from the base of cholesterol. So cholesterol is important. We don't want to completely get rid of that. Our body is going to make it, but we also get it from our diet. It's coming from cholesterol, and then we're making all those different sex hormones. If your body is consistently underfueled, it's not getting enough calories, especially your carbs and your fats, it's going to prioritize survival. It's going to see a threat. Even though you may not physically be threatened, you're just, I want to undereat, I'm trying to lose weight, or you're just distracted and you're underfueling unintentionally. So for me, it was very unintentional. I didn't even realize I was doing it. What gets deprioritized? Ovulation, progesterone production, regular cycles. And this is why chronic dieting, chronic undereating, or training without fueling enough is going to often lead to those irregular periods, missed ovulation, hormonal symptoms, low energy, and all of it at once. Postpartum moms are especially vulnerable because you're often breastfeeding, depending where you are, since you had your baby. Returning to exercise, you feel good again, you're exercising more, maybe sleeping poorly, probably. So even with a toddler, sleep is still a little bit poor. You're carrying so much mental and emotional load. Your body needs support. Your body needs fuel, not less. It needs more. So why does this matter after having a baby? Why does this matter postpartum? After birth, hormones shift dramatically. Ovulation often returns before the first period. And so that's why providers often recommend to put in, to have some sort of birth control so that you can actually focus on recovering for yourself and feeding your current baby versus getting pregnant, because you may not have a period or this like a regular cycle, but you still may ovulate and then get pregnant. within that first year. And that's hard on the body. That's hard on the body. Progesterone tends to be lower. Stress hormones are higher because there's so much going on. Sleep is disrupted. So this is all going to affect recovery, mood, bone health, metabolism, fertility down the road. So for me, when I was finally ready, I'm finally ready to start trying and have a baby. And then I'm thinking about my cycle and I'm thinking, oh, well, my period's only 3 days. My cycles are shorter. I've kind of been exercising a lot. I haven't been eating enough. Okay, what's going on? Let me test my hormones. Whoa, estrogen is really low. I'm still ovulating, but it's kind of estrogen is like really low. Let me start eating more. Let me change my routine. Let me focus on recovery and balancing everything. And I've started to see a shift, higher estrogen, more robust ovulation. Whoa, that is cool. And giving myself grace and time, like, okay, it takes 3 months for the follicle to fully mature. My body was underfueled and was going through a lot for many months over the summer. It's going to take some time to get pregnant and for everything to kind of get back into its rhythm. So this is going to affect everything. And this is why postpartum recovery isn't just physical, it's hormonal, it's metabolic as well. So this doesn't mean you need to track every hormone and obsess over numbers because that's going to increase stress and that's actually going to down-regulate that system from the brain down. But awareness matters. Where are you in your cycle? What are your symptoms? What's your cycle length? What are your energy patterns? What are your hunger changes? Do you have PMS symptoms that we really need to start paying attention to? That's your body's way of communicating with you. Do we have really, really long cycles with maybe a really long follicular phase? Maybe we have ovulation, maybe we don't. Is there PCOS involved, which is also very metabolic? Sleep quality. There's so many things that go into it. Your body is constantly communicating with you. We just have to listen. And learning to listen is very powerful. And often it can be pretty hard, okay? So next week, today we talked about all about the menstrual cycle, the hormones involved, what it is. Next week, we're going to dive in about how to actually support your cycle with the nutrition, training, sleep, and stress management. And I want to be very clear. You do not need to completely change your workouts every single phase. That sounds exhausting. Life is hard enough. What the heck? And we see that all over social media. Like, okay, when you're in your follicular phase and when you're ovulating, you can lift heavy. But when you're in your luteal phase, you can only do yoga and relax. And if that was I would lose my mind, but that's simply not true at all. We're going to dive into it. I don't want to dive into it too much here. I'm super excited to talk about all of this, but that doesn't mean you have to completely change your workouts every phase or even your nutrition. Do we have to pay attention to certain things, especially depending on what's going on? Yeah, for sure. Yes, you can still build strength in your luteal phase. Are there some times in your luteal phase that you're going to feel and tired? Like I would often go to my girlfriends would always laugh at me because I would show up at CrossFit and I'm like, I'm in my luteal phase. I'm here to move today because I am tired. But there were other points in my luteal phase, and this happened postpartum as well, where I actually hit a PR for my deadlift. I hit a personal record and I felt good. That's awesome. Yes, you can train consistently. We're going to talk all about that next week. So support doesn't mean restriction. I don't want you to be afraid, or it's not black and white either. It means working with your body, not against it. Now, mama, if you want personalized support beyond just this free podcast education, which I'm so happy to give you, this is exactly what we work through inside my 8-week group coaching program, the Strong, Nourished, and Energized Mom Method. What I do is I help moms fuel properly for recovery and training, wherever you are in your motherhood journey, improve energy availability, rebuild strength safely postpartum, support your nervous system through regulation, create sustainable nutrition and movement habits that are going to be with you forever. And when appropriate, I also help moms understand labs and hormone testing that may be helpful. So if after talking with you through everything and, we try different things, I may say, hey, it may be appropriate for you to try this test if that's something that you're interested in. I definitely don't start there. I start with actually talking with you and figuring out what's going on, but we can actually use that information in a supportive, practical way. So if you are tired of guessing and want a structured approach to rebuild strength, your energy as a busy mom, I would love to support you. You can learn more at wellnessbyval.com/program. The link is also going to be in the show notes, but you're going to have all the information there. Thank you so much for being here and listening today. If this episode helped you, share it with another mama who needs this information, and I will see you next week for part 2. Hey mama, I hope you loved today's episode. If you got something out of it or simply enjoyed listening, would you please take 30 seconds to share it with another mom who could use the support? And if you haven't yet, I would be so grateful if you could leave a quick review on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you tune in. It truly means the world to me, and it helps the show reach more amazing moms like you. All right, time to go chase my toddler around. Stay strong and nourished, and I'll be back on Monday with another episode. Talk soon.